Hey yo, it's old Jesse. Um, how y'all doing? Um, I'm gonna go over Proverbs 18 verse 1 and talk about it a little bit. This verse is different in the English translation to Hebrew. Hebrew reads differently. Okay, that happens a lot in the Old Testament. Happens a lot in the New Testament. So when you read a verse, if you're a student of wisdom, you will check the original language, and you will also read what somebody else thinks it's saying in your language. It's just a smart attitude. Multitude of counselors, there's wisdom, and so we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Proverbs 18:1. Through desire a man having separated himself seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. Sounds kind of dark, doesn't it? This is typical of men. Men do this. They do separate themselves from the community when they want to find something out. Usually, they will do that because they know the chances of their experimentation with whatever wisdom they're messing with will cause problems. And that's a true thing, you know. I've done it. I know a number of very religious folks that quit going to church for a while so they can study, so they have time to study. Typically, it's the man that does that. Usually, if a woman leaves the church, she's leaving the church. If a man leaves the church, he may be gone for, a couple weeks or a couple months or a couple years, depending on what he's looking into, or he just might be working. But he will eventually come back around. If he finds that his wisdom, at least in the religious sense, matches what he used to believe, he will return. But if he does not find that what is taught in the Bible matches things in the religious sense, he will not return. Usually he'll go off and either be religious by himself or try to find another community that thinks like he does. So this is that, and that's not just a religious thing. It's a, men go outside and fool with stuff and check out how things work, or they might have their shop. They go by themselves to their shop, or they sit behind their computer by themselves with the door shut. And it's very often that a man, when he's learning, secludes himself. It's a normal psychological reaction for a man to do that. A woman, when she's learning, is often in a social context. Very different modes of learning. So keep that in mind. And the way this reads, through desire a man having separated himself seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. That makes it sound bad, because, the tree of knowledge of good and evil and all that stuff, some things, some forms of knowledge and wisdom are like, ooh, maybe you really don't want to know about that. Maybe I don't really want to know about that. Maybe it should be forgotten forever, that type of thing. And okay, all right, yeah, there's that. In the English, there's a reason for that proverb being translated as dark as it was. Okay? And that reason is, in the English Isles, under King James, hundreds of years ago, when this was translated, the only alternative to Catholicism at the time of translating this were pagan religions, the worship of Pan and the worship of a she shall not be named cannibalistic god, with, you know, cannibalistic daughter gods associated. So, and that's pretty dark, because you would think, oh, well, you know, Great Britain, England, Scotland, Ireland, that's all like been Christian for ages and stuff. No. Sadly enough, there exists and has existed some pretty nasty stuff in the English Isles for a long time. And the very reason why this was translated probably this way, you know, was to warn folks for not to look into the darkness, so to speak. So, but that's not the only area that has that problem. You know, a lot of Europe, when you dig into the past history, has these evil pagan gods or whatever. Or, you know, like, there's knowledge in science, right? But, like, you know, human experimentation can get too crazy. Or, like, there's knowledge in science, but, like, you know, how did we get our medical knowledge? People dug up bodies from graves and stuff like that and experimented on them and, like, tried to inject animal blood into human beings. And, like, okay, so this verse is translated in a very dark way because some wisdom is gotten from really dark subjects, okay? And it's like, that's bad. But at the same time, that's what men, humanity, and also women, they kind of do that. But that's what happens, you know, when mankind goes to get worldly wisdom, right? Because it's dangerous. Okay? Now, what the Hebrew says is completely different. It's a different outlook on wisdom. It says, there is a delight in separately searching all wisdom stubbornly, right? It's the unrelenting pursuit of wisdom for your own self. It's a completely different saying. Now, why is that? Well, it comes from a different religious background, right? The Jews had Yahweh as a god since before they were Jews. Okay? Now, they may have experienced other religious beliefs through the centuries and stuff like that, but primarily Jews have always believed in Yahweh. So, the darkness there is not a historical thing with them. Like, they didn't have these, I mean, there's bad things that Jews have invented, like the atomic bomb and stuff like that. You know, that's like maybe not so great. And you know, maybe social media is a little bit out of hand and stuff like that. That would be pretty bad, you know, like, and computer technology is like, well, I mean, it's good and it's bad, you know. So, and things of that nature, where Jews have been involved with inventing a lot of these things, or even AI. Like, how bad could AI get? It could get out of control. Oh no, you know, computers going to overtake the world, right? So you have to understand that wisdom and knowledge can be used for good or evil, and it depends on the individual person as to what that knowledge is going to be. If a person goes and experiments with something and gains some wisdom, you know, and they relentlessly pursue that wisdom, if they're a good person, it's going to make them a better person. And if they're a bad person, well, you know, evil things are going to happen. And sometimes it's possible for a person to go obtain wisdom, and then somebody else other than them learns of those concepts and misapplies it, and it becomes evil, right? So you have to be careful with wisdom. You know, that tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, we have two types of knowledge in the world. Be very, very careful how you apply what you learn. Because just because you can learn it doesn't mean it's not going to destroy you and everybody around you, right? So, think about that. Consider it. You know? And yeah. Be careful when you search for wisdom. Okay? Be careful of your own health, of your mental health, of what you as a human being can go through. I know in my experience, when I went and sought wisdom, I didn't go to church for a long time. I still don't go to church because I can't find anybody that believes quite like I do. And I would love to have a church at this point. It's like, well, you know, and I could quote unquote settle for less, right? That's how you, in a religious sense, I could say, you know what? I'll take a church that's not what it should be. But from a human being's perspective, it's like, okay, even the churches that I would settle for they're really far away from me right now, like over 2 hours away, you know? And that's like, okay, well, what do? You worship by yourself. Okay? So consider what you do when you seek for knowledge. If you choose to search by yourself and you're stubborn about it, you can end up as a lonely person if you stay out of the social group for too long. And that has its own set of consequences that go with it. And some of those consequences aren't fun, okay? Necessary if you want knowledge, but not fun. So, be careful in your pursuit of wisdom and knowledge and truth and all that wonderful stuff, because you can destroy yourself in pursuit of knowledge and in pursuit of wisdom. It's very possible. And not only that, but once you've gained that wisdom and knowledge, that doesn't mean you're going to be respected for it. So, go look. Go seek that wisdom. Go seek that knowledge. Delight in it. Chase after it stubbornly. But pick the lengths of time you're willing to be separated from everybody while you do. Make sure that you have human contact. Make sure you don't forget who your friends are. Make sure that you teach your friends what you've learned as you learned it, so that at the end of the process, you still have a social group. Right? So there's wonderful, beautiful things that you can do in the search of knowledge. And I know that men specifically will go loner and lone wolf and try to do things on their own to gain knowledge. But remember, once you've learned a thing, go back to the group, teach about it, convince the women, convince the other menfolk, and produce a good social atmosphere. Because if you relentlessly pursue just wisdom, whether that be religious wisdom, like Bible prophecy, like study of morals, like study of history, study of how biblical logic goes together, or even if it's science and you spend all your time, in a lab by yourself, or if it's just mechanical knowledge, you want to know about cars, you want to know about this, you want to know about that, and you go out and you're working on stuff by yourself all the time. Well, it's going to make you very lonely, and it has destroyed a lot of intelligent men's lives, because once they get what they know, once they've found the wisdom that they want, they no longer have anybody to share it with, or they're not close enough to share it with very many folks. And so the danger is, and this is a repeated problem in humanity, the danger is going and learning too much to the point that you no longer have a social group. So do not neglect the human beings around you that love you as you seek wisdom. Make sure those human beings are loved, and that they know that they're loved, or respected and know they're respected, depending on what gender a person may be. So remember your social responsibilities, men. Remember your social responsibilities, even as you do this good proverb, and Proverbs 18:1, in seeking wisdom. Remember, you have to bring what you learned back into the community. You have to tell everybody about it excitedly, and just like, yeah, man, this is what I was doing. Yeah, man, this is great. And show everybody, so that, or at least, if you don't want to share certain wisdoms because maybe they are dangerous, at least go back to the community and just be like, yeah, I was experimenting with some stuff, and, well, a little bit dangerous, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Just don't forget to be a part of the social structure around you, right? It's important. And I don't have a better way to say that. Like, hey, I made the mistake. Like, I know what mistake I made. Like, it's a terrible mistake. And don't make the same one I made with religion, right? Or with worldly wisdom, or with just learning things just because you want to learn things. Like, for a man that's young, it seems like, well, there's nothing better to do in your life, but here I am, I'm 40, and I should have stopped 10 years ago. I've got had a family to take care of, and so just be careful how long you seclude yourself when you're looking for wisdom. That's all I have to say about it. Don't overdo it. Learn what you need to learn, and then show everybody else. All right, y'all. If you like what I had to say, give it the old thumbs up and subscribe. All right, bye.